Glock Model 36 in 45 ACP and the Kahr CW45 in 45 ACP. A lot of comparisons, a lot of differences. First things first. Now, there's been a lot of interest in the comparison between these two pistols. First thing we're going to do is just talk about the real obvious, which is they're both 45 ACP, hold 6 rounds in the magazine plus 1. They both have polymer frames. They're both striker-fired pistols, very similar in function. And so all those points make it a difficult decision. So what we're going to look at are the differences. Why choose the Glock or the Kahr over the other? The first thing we're going to talk about is a couple of things that are very obvious if you have these two guns side by side. The first time you actually put one of these in your hand, you're going to notice that there is a tremendous difference of one over the other. The Glock itself, and you can see right here, is wider. In fact, it's a ½ inch difference. It's 2.5 inches, especially down here at the lower end. Here on the Kahr, it's 2 inches. So you're going to get immediately a feel that this gun is a lot smaller than the 36. Now, if you've ever had a 36 or held a 36 without holding the Kahr, you would think that this is a pretty thin, pretty small little pistol. And it is. I've had this gun for a number of years. I have been carrying it as one of my CWP options or my concealed carry options. And I've always thought that it was thin, and I liked the way it felt. And half the time I wouldn't even realize that I was carrying it. But one of the things about the Kahr is that it is not only thin this way, but it's actually thinner this way. You're going to find that holding a Glock, it's thin. This is called their slimline. So it is a tremendously thin pistol in the grip area. It's their only single stack magazine. And the grip is only 1¼ inches thick. But on the Kahr, it's only 1 inch. So you're going to have a 1/4 inch thickness over the Kahr here, and then you're going to have a ½ inch thickness at the grip. Now, before you run out and buy the Kahr, you need to put both of these in your hand. I have medium-sized hands, so I like a little bit of a thinner grip. It feels more comfortable. It feels like I have more control over the pistol if I can get a good grip on the gun itself. I grew up shooting 1911s. That was my all-time favorite. I learned how to shoot on 1911s. The thinness of the grip is important to me. It's just what I'm used to. With the Kahr, it really gets thin. It comes in this way. It comes in sideways. It's a really thin pistol. And I'm going to tell you, for my hands, I really like that feeling. That doesn't take away from the Glock 36. I still love this pistol. So one of the first things that I want to recommend, even if you're looking at these two, is to go to a gun shop and grab both of these side by side. That is a really important thing in any gun you pick. To me, once you pick out a quality gun and you've done the research, one of the most important parts in choosing a firearm for yourself is to feel how the grip fits in your hand. This grip is thinner and narrower. This grip is a little thicker and it's a little wider. Okay, now that we're speaking of grips themselves, now the grip on the Kahr has very aggressive texturing on this back, on the front strap. Very aggressive. It feels good. It's not uncomfortable when you're shooting. The Glock 36, it has texturing here, and you know what? It's nice texturing. It's very rounded and smooth. It's not as aggressive as it is on the Kahr. And on the front, you do have finger grooves with texturing here. But this texturing is not as aggressive as it is on the Kahr. Okay, another feature that you're going to notice right away with these two guns is the length of the slide. The Glock is just a little longer. It has to do a lot with there's more going on behind the barrel. So your barrel lengths are not that much different. The barrel length of the Glock is 3.78 inches. The barrel on the Kahr is 3.64 inches. So we're not talking about that much. It's a pretty slight difference. So you're only getting about a 1/4 inch difference in the slide lengths of the two pistols. The Glock is about a 1/4 inch over what the Kahr is. But now here at the grip, the Glock is a little shorter. So here you see that where the Glock comes down, it's considerably shorter here. Even with the magazine extending, you can see that there's quite a bit of difference. The width of the slide is pretty marginal. In fact, the Kahr is a little smaller at 1.01 inches, while the Glock is 1.1 inches. So it's a 9/10 of an inch difference. One of the reasons why the Kahr can be smaller in the grip is because they're using steel magazines. And as you see here, these are both holding 6 rounds. But with the polymer, it needs to be reinforced just a little bit than this real thin steel. So that's part of the reason why the Glock is going to be just a little bit thicker. The Kahr only comes with 1 magazine. And to me, that's a downside with this gun. One of the guys actually left in the comments is that the Kahr can accept 1911 magazines. I read that you can use 1911 mags in the Kahr, so we're going to check it out. Fits, Catches on the mag release. Hangs just a little bit out from the bottom, but this is an 8-round magazine. So we're going from 6 to 8 rounds with just a little hanging out. Smooth like butter. The Kahr will not only accept standard 1911 magazines, but it functions very well with them. This is actually a Met Guard magazine that I've had for a number of years. It's an 8-rounder, and it fits really well and functions, holds the slide open, does everything it needs to do. But in some of my other 1911 magazines, they wouldn't catch in the slide release. So you're going to really need to be careful if you're going to use 1911 magazines. I just happen to have a lot of 1911 magazines, so that makes it easy for me. But if you're trying to buy one of the Kahr magazines, I saw them online for around the $30 range. If you order them directly from Kahr, they're around the $40 range. It does stick out farther than the grip. But if you're using it just as an extra magazine, that's probably not such a big deal. If you prefer polymer magazines, or if you prefer steel, that may factor into your choice between these two pistols. Now there is a slight difference in weight, but it's only 1 ounce. The Kahr weighs 22 ounces with the magazine inserted, while the Glock 36 weighs 23 ounces with the magazine inserted. So now another difference is the trigger guards. And as you can see with the Glock, it's a squared off trigger guard with some texturing on the front. If you like to put your fingers around the trigger guard when shooting, then this will work well for you. The Kahr features a rounded off trigger guard. Very unusual shape. I really like it. Now for me personally, I don't wrap my fingers around the trigger guard. I do like this. It makes it a little more compact. With the squared off trigger guard, it does jut out just a little bit more than the Kahr does. Now the sights are a different story, and I'm going to have to discount this Glock 36 because it has True Dot aftermarket sights that are glow in the dark. So instead, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my G17, which has the standard Glock sights, to compare it with the bar dot sights of the Kahr. And as you can see, there's a bar at the rear, there's a dot at the front. With the Glock sights, you have a framed in sight picture and then a dot at the front. I am very used to this sight configuration, but I'll tell you, I quickly grew and really liked this sight configuration as well. So that's just another matter of preference. Now the slides are definitely different because of the stainless steel of the Kahr and the tenifer treated slide of the Glock. And this is a really nice tenifer finish, and then they've done a really nice gray, battle gray type finish that's really resistant to any kind of wear, and of course stainless speaks for itself. And speaking of slides, you have a slide stop. One of the things about Glock, it has a very small slide stop, and for me personally, I don't use the slide stop that often because I just rack my slide. The Kahr does have a larger, easier to manipulate slide stop, but yet it is rounded off, so it makes it good for concealed carry. The Glock slide stop is very close to the gun, and so it makes it really nice for concealed carry. Now the magazine release on the Kahr is steel, and I did hear one guy comment saying that these used to be polymer, and this may even be an upgrade. With the Glock, it is polymer. I've been shooting Glocks for years, and I have never had really any issues with the magazine release. Now trigger pull is a huge difference. Now with the Glock, they have the safety built into the trigger, and when you pull it all the way back, and there is some resistance right when you get right before the snap, and then snap. With the Kahr, it's a long trigger pull, and then it snaps. Really, this trigger is really nice. And then reset is all the way out. And really, that has to do a lot with the safety features of the gun. This is more like a double action revolver in the philosophy of the way this trigger works. But the Glock reset is right here. So you're getting a quick reset, and you're able to fire the gun quicker. The texturing on the slide itself is a little more aggressive with the Kahr than it is with the Glock. Just has a little bit more to grab hold of here. And one of the big differences is breakdown. Pull back about 1/8 of an inch, pull your levers down, and then the slide just comes right off. That is really simple. And one of the things that I missed on the original review of the Kahr, I didn't have the owner's manual, and so I just kind of guessed at it from other pistols that I've broken down. But there's a little hash mark right here on the slide, and there's a corresponding mark right on the frame. And if you'll line that up, then this notch should allow you, and you need to either push, I used a little blunt object to push it this way, and then you can pull it right out, and then you don't have to pull the slide back so far. Now, you will need to depress the trigger to release the slide. So it's a little more complicated for breakdown of the Kahr than it is the Glock. Now, one of the things I want to correct that I missed in the first video when I reviewed the Kahr itself, I had mentioned that there were just polymer rails and then there were metal tabs at the back here. But there are actually, right here in the dust cover, there are rails both sides. In fact, pretty substantial rails that ride the slide right here. So you're going to have some stability at the front and at the rear. Here with the Glock, you have rails here and you have rails here at the back. You definitely have some differences back here, as you can see, with the disconnector and everything that's going on here that you don't have with the Kahr. So it's not exact. There are some differences. But then here with the slide, you can see where the striker is, very similar to the Glock. The Kahr has a steel recoil guide rod, which is really good. And the barrel system is the Browning barrel system, which is really nice. Good positive lockup. The Glock's recoil is a double spring captured system that really keeps recoil down. And then of course it has the standard Glock lockup system. So I would say that the breakdown of the Glock is easy, while the breakdown of the Kahr is about medium. Another advantage that the Glock has over the Kahr is just because there are so many millions of these out on the market, holsters are a little bit, and accessories are a little bit easier to find. Magazines are easier to find. Your holsters, there's going to be more suitable, different type holsters out there. But I did find a number of holsters for the Kahr out there as well. You'll just have to usually order them online. But to be honest with you, most of the time I order my holsters online because I'm looking for certain things. As I was researching the Kahr, I did find where there were some that had some reliability issues, some failures to feed. I personally did not have one failure to feed with this gun from all the shooting I did during the review and when I did the comparison video between these two. It was flawless. It functioned every time. Hollow points, full metal jacket, it didn't matter. The Glock 36 has always functioned well for me, and most of my Glocks, I've never had any trouble with Glock, except when I had a Gen 4 one time and I needed to replace the guide rod. Other than that, I've never had any trouble with Glock pistols. Now, one thing that I did notice is when I have this gun loaded with one in the tube, sometimes once dropping the magazine, I have trouble getting the slide to kind of kick back. And it's binding just a touch, and you just have to grab it and just pull it, pretty good yank on it. And not really a deal breaker. Sometimes too, when you're putting in the magazine, you really have to give it a good push to catch. I'm going to probably modify this magazine just a little bit to be able to catch on here, but it really catches. You just need to make sure you give it a good push. I've always enjoyed shooting the Model 36, and like I've said in one of my earlier videos, this has been a concealed carry for me, and I really like the size and the fit. To be honest with you, I like the way this shoots a little better. It's a little more comfortable in my hand. Right in the web right here, I was getting a little bit of tension with the 36, which honestly has surprised me because I've shot the 36 a lot and just never really had a comparison between the two. Now, in all fairness, these pistols are pretty close to the same quality. Glock has been proven millions of rounds. Many law enforcement agencies carry Glocks. So this is a tried and true pistol. The Kahr's been around for a number of years, done very well. It's been a very highly respected, especially in some of their more expensive lines. The CW line is really more of a budget line. These guns will run you about $400. The Glocks will run you about $5 and a quarter and up. You've got about $125, $150 difference in these two pistols. Don't make a choice of your firearms based solely on your budget. These guns will last a number of lifetimes. So you need really to make sure you get something that fits good in your hand, shoots well, is reliable, because one day you may be depending your life on one of these firearms. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic.